I'm so grateful to be here today, and we have been having 2 amazing days with these amazing speakers. And finally, I will talk a little bit about a topic that raised kind of an interest in these 2 days, but we never digged into that more deeply, and it's about social media use and adolescents' well-being. This is a project that is a science communication project that I've been doing together with the IBSA Foundation for Scientific Research and in collaboration with USI, Università della Svizzera Italiana. So thank you, Silvia and Professor Schulz, that are part of this project. And in this project, so we are communicating science. I've been doing a lot of research on teenagers here and in the United States, but this project is a bit different because we aim to bring the science back to the people, to bring the results back to the people. And this is also my way, since now I'm working with Professor Vishwanath, and I thank very much for all the experience that I've been having there at Harvard. This is also my way to bring something back to the community here, where I did the data collection of my Happy Bee study. And this is the project, so it aims to communicate the results with different activities to the general public, adolescents, but also families and schools and parents, teachers. And these activities are different activities built on each other. In particular, this is based on a topic that is quite highly debated. So we know that today the role of social media and digital media in youth health and well-being has been highlighted in different ways, usually in a negative way. But as we said more than one time, what we have found also during two workshops hosted by Harvard, one also in Lugano last year, the effects are small, they can be positive or negative, and the majority of the times when we use very sophisticated way to collect data, they are also non-existent. So we also find non-significant effect sizes, as we would say in science. And so in the end, the relationship between social media use and adolescents' well-being is really complicated and difficult to catch, especially when we ask to the teens, like one time, how much time do you use on social media and how do you feel? We know that this question, so that is used by the majority of correlational studies, we know that this question is not enough. But in order to translate what we know from the scientific literature here, the Swiss National Science Foundation allows to carry out these Agora projects. So Agora projects, they are aimed to bring the society and the researchers together in a way to create a dialogue that sometimes should be an informal dialogue, but also to listen and interact, to convey the most updated scientific results back to the community. And, but to do this kind of project, we need 2 parts. So we need a communication expert, that is the IBSA Foundation in our case. And indeed, this project started from this series of books. This is the Let's Science series that has been developed by the IBSA Foundation from 2018. And in this series, I have to say it's very special because you have a scientific part, but also an artistic part. So with the use of comics, children and adolescents, they can learn about different scientific topics. And here you can find a QR code because it can be freely downloaded in all the Swiss languages plus English. At the same time, we also need a scientific component for this project, and here I report the Happy Bee study. That was the last study that I've conducted here in Ticino. That was at the end of a series of studies that Professor Schulz started years ago here in Ticino on children and adolescents. And if you want, there is the report in Italian and English. And so we were trying to translate into practice to try to avoid a gap of 17 years of science translation. So the results of this research, of previous research that we have been conducted, but also of the research of other international scholars. And during this project, we are trying to address different components of well-being, including also and considering developmental processes at that age, like personality formation, the need for social connection, and using different indicators of well-being like happiness. And this project includes 3 activities that are built on each other in a complementary way. So the Happy Lab is a practical activity with the teenagers that combines arts and science. And we ask to the teenagers to build a mask that represents their digital identity, and then to brainstorm their emotion and what was related to that mask. And then we also built together a pyramid of happiness. But before doing that, we told them some part of the scientific literature and results that we found in these studies. And then we also hosted a happy apero with the parents and teachers and young people at the end of this week of activity. And we are planning to host a happy table with high school principals and all the stakeholders working with schools in Switzerland. This is the timeline of the project. The project lasts 1 year. We are right now in the middle of it. As you can see, we have already done the first week of Happy Lab, and at the end of it, we hosted the Happy Apero. And we are getting ready for the second week of Happy Lab and Happy Apero that will be at the end of September. And at the very end, we also aim to publish another book series that will be around the topic of happiness 2.0 because it refers to the web 2.0, which includes user-generated content like the ones of social media. And just to give you an overview of the scientific concepts that we tackle with teens at the very beginning of the Happy Lab. So usually we presented them some facts about the biology at that age and the use of social media, the role of personality traits. We already heard yesterday from Professor Montag how personality traits are important for well-being. The social context, which includes social connections, but also other activities. And then the role of time. So how do we measure this link? And how things can change throughout the time. So I will report here just a few examples because we know from the scientific literature that the teen brain is very special because the cognitive control system is not developed yet, that is related to the prefrontal areas of the brain, and usually it reaches maturity around 25 years of age, we know so far. And the cognitive control system can be divided into a hot and cold control system. The hot is controlling the emotions, and the cold is more related to planning, working memory, and other high-level cognitive task. And then we have the reward system that motivates the behavior, and it's related to the feeling of gratification and to seek behaviors that are good for us. It is related to brain areas more in the striatum or in the limbic system. And as you can see from that image, there is an imbalance in the development of the two areas during adolescence, and that is very important when we think about the social media use at that age. At the same time, the teen brain is social, is extremely social. And I usually report here an example of a very simple experiment. So in this experiment, participants that were children, teenagers, or adults, they were asked to go into a functional magnetic resonance, and then the researcher was telling them a peer is observing you. There is no judgment. It's just someone of your age is observing you. And as you can see from the graph, the experience of embarrassment is higher in adolescence than in childhood and adulthood. And that was related to an higher activation of all the brain areas that are related to the all the process of social information. And that is something very important to acknowledge. And that was also surprising for the teens when they got to know this information about their brains. At the same time, we talk about small effects. So we know also from the workshops and the work that I've been doing together with Professor Vishwanath that there is no rule that applies to everyone. So effects are small, and they go in every kind of directions. You see here the distribution of the effects that we usually use in science, which is the Gaussian distribution. And as you can see from different papers, the picture that we have with the most advanced data collection is very heterogeneous. In particular, on the left, you can see an image from a group from the Netherlands. They're very active on this topic. And you can see the line in green and red. They represent positive and negative effects, and the gray line, no effects. And here on the right, you can see another graph that is representing how well-being on the left is changing over time, and also smartphone use is changing, but in a more faster way. So just to show you, it's so complicated to try to understand what is the real effect on well-being and at what time scale should we look at, and how these effects can pile up throughout time. Then another important point that we tackled during the presentation is the fact that balance is the key. Balance is always the key, also in healthy behaviors. Like, we should exercise, but also too much exercise is not like that good. We should sleep, but too much sleep is not that good. So also in this case, like a normal digital media use, it can bring a lot of opportunities for people, especially to connect. But at the same time, if it is too much, as everything else, it can also display time for other activities. So in a study that we have conducted here in Ticino a year ago, we found that the 37% of the group of children that we surveyed, they were reporting a balanced use of their online and offline time. And that group was also the group that was having higher grades at the end of the year and also reporting lower levels of problematic smartphone usage. And so that is related to the digital Goldilocks hypothesis, for which, you know, a certain amount of use of digital technology is good for well-being, and then after that amount, I mean, it can be negative. At the same time, we also present to the teens at this project some data from the Happy Bee project. In particular, since we asked teens to represent their online identity, we found a very interesting data. So usually teenagers, they tend to have more than one account. Actually, more than a half of them, they tend to have 2 or 3 accounts. And at all 3 time points during which we surveyed the participants. And there has been a name that has been used a lot to represent this phenomenon, especially on Instagram. We call that Finstagram, so, which is the shorter version for fake Instagram. And that should be opposite to real Instagram. But actually, we don't know what is fake or real anymore today, because adolescents were telling us, yes, I have a very, very private profile, then a private one, then a public one, and then another one. So, okay, you actually have 3 or 4, and what is the difference between very, very private and private? And also, why you feel the need to have so many profiles with different privacy rules? And actually, in the scientific literature, we are still trying to get to know what this difference in multiple profiles is related to. And then during my study, we talk a lot about definition of happiness and well-being, and I always present this slide. So I also started from the philosophy and Aristotle, and I measure hedonic and eudaimonic well-being. And as you can see, these measures, they include different dimensions that are quite different. The hedonic well-being usually is related to positive emotions and absence to negative emotions, life satisfaction, and it is more on the short term, while eudaimonic well-being usually is more long-lasting. At the same time, we have measures like flourishing and thriving that are more comprehensive and include hedonic, eudaimonic well-being, mental health, physical health, and also financial well-being, and in some cases, even spiritual well-being. But before starting the practical part of the lab, we were also asking to the team, so what do you think? Do you think that social media can influence your well-being? The majority of the teens, they answer like in a yellow way here, saying it depends. It depends on how you use social media. The majority of them say that. Then a part of that, them also acknowledge that, yeah, there might be negative consequences, especially if you use social media too much, or if you don't realize how much time you spent away, or if you compare yourself to the other people too much. And then a part of them, they were highlighting the positive aspect of social media use related to things that interest them or their hobbies. So at this point, we prompt them to go into the lab by saying, think about a social media platform that you use, or a social media behavior, can be Instagram, an Instagram account, or any kind of behavior. How would you represent your virtual identity on a mask? And then after that, we were asking them to list 3 values or concepts that are very important for their well-being and how they are related to their digital identity. And we built this happiness pyramid. But before showing you some outcomes, I would like to show you this video so you can feel a bit more what was that week of activity. You have seen a lot of people also, because I think that the team that we created was a multidisciplinary team together with Rete Operativa. So we had experts in mental health, and then the people from IBSA and from USI, Alessia Pietro, that are here. And it was an amazing experience because really brought together different expertise and also a climate that was a climate of listening, to go back to our Lee words. So we were listening a lot what they were saying, and especially the masks that they created, they were really colorful and all different from each other. I mean, we really try to catch the story behind each of these masks. As you can see, there is no one similar to each other. And there is a use of colors that is really variegated, even a use of dark colors sometimes. Some of them, they are split. Some of them, they are very colorful. And at some point, we were trying, it's so complicated to scientifically or quantitatively represent the results of this laboratory, but in a more qualitative way, we were trying to represent like what we found. And there are kind of 4 types of mask that we have seen. One is a neutral one. So in the neutral one, adolescents, they basically were representing themselves as they are in reality. Then we have a colorful mask. So we have experienced the use of colors in many ways. This is an amazing example. Then we have a split mask. And usually this part of the mask, one was a bit darker and the other one with other colors. And then there was, in some cases, a sad mask that was expressing a lot of emotions and also negative emotions sometimes. And again, we should acknowledge the role of negative emotions always, even in studying happiness or in trying to explore what is related to well-being. And when we think about the neutral mask, that was related to self-expression. So teenagers, they were saying, oh, I feel a sense of serenity because people, they just see me how I am, and I can represent my real me, represent myself. And also sometimes a mask is like a puzzle of pieces to represent the uniqueness of the person. And then for the colorful mask, the colors, they were representing different emotions. So for example, the blue was related to freedom, the yellow to happiness, and different colors, they were related to hobbies and interests that they were having. And then the split mask was related to 2 parts of them that they wanted to show or not online. One of the participants saying, my mask is like day and night. There is a part of me that I show and a part of me that I don't. And another was saying, maybe there is a gap, but it really depends on how you perceive reality. If you know that the reality on social media is not always true, then you are fine. But if you think that that is the only reality, you also feel kind of a sense on the what's going on for real. And then for the sad mask, so the girl that represented this mask, she said, I drew a hand on my mask because I have the perception that sometimes people can touch me, and so it gives me a sense of invasion. And then sometimes they were also acknowledging like that they could lose control online, and also they were representing a sense of apathy, especially with respect to the news, and sometimes also distortion of reality. And I think it's good that they were acknowledging that, and so it's important to give them the skills to become more aware and see, okay, then how can we move from that point to a healthier use of the digital environment? And then when we were asking them, so if your mask were able to speak, what would you say? And it was interesting because at the end they were saying, like, I don't need to hide behind anything. Everyone is different. And I would say not worry about what other people think, or be who you want to be. And even one participant say, so be happy, and if sometimes happiness forgets about you, you don't forget about happiness. And then in the end, we represented the pyramid of happiness. And here you can see what they built. So in the basic level, there are values like respect, health, family, love, friendship. And then we move up to support, curiosity, vitality, self-esteem, self-acceptance, sports. And then on the top of it, altruism, cooperation, empathy, individualism, love for others, self-realizations. And then we were asking them, okay, so what about how is your online behavior related or not to what is really important for you and your peers? Because that was done by a class. And some of them, they were saying it feels close. I feel close to the overall pyramid, or I feel close to a level of that pyramid. For example, someone say to the top level for entertainment, or to the first level because I can collect to the people that I love, or to the second level because I love sports. And then few of them reported that I feel distant. like my mask is very far away, has nothing to do to what is the real me. And one person, so it was only one person, but say, I would imagine a completely different pyramid or even the opposite. And then we were living there with this sense of more awareness, but also sometimes even self-criticism about, okay, so how is my behavior aligned with my values and what is really important to me? And at the end, we were asking them, so describe with one word, how did you feel during this activity? And the majority, they felt freedom, free, relaxed, calm, creativity, happiness, tranquility. For some of them, it was also a way to remind them about childhood and the use of arts and self-expression in general, and be sincere about themselves. And so at the very, very end, we also collected some feedback on a notebook, and they were saying, like, it was an interesting experience because it was stimulating and a way to talk about a topic that is kind of a common topic, but in a way that was unusual. And it was the opportunity for thoughtfulness that they wouldn't have thought about that, and also that they needed this moment. They needed this moment of reflection. So overall, we had very positive feedback. And so let's say I want to thank all the group of people that were part of this project. We have Pietro, Alessia that are here, but also Jacopo, Sara, and Nicole, and then obviously Silvia, and Dario, and from Rete Operativa. And I just want to tell you that the second week of the activities, it will be at the end of September, from the 23rd to the 27th of September. We will host the Happy Lab and the Happy Apero at Casa Cattaneo, which is the headquarters of the IBSA Foundation in Lugano. And so here you can find more information. And with that, thank you again for listening.